Namaste. I am Kumar Bhandari, a human rights defender and journalist from Nepal. I represent the National Network of Families of the Disappeared and Missing Persons, those who were disappeared during the Nepal's internal armed conflict. And I also coordinate Solidarity Campaign for Justice to advance victims' truth and justice. I experience various ways the meaning of suffering and loss of a family member. My father was disappeared in 2001 during first emergency period. During my individual and collective activism in the field, during the past 10 years period before and after conflict, made me who I am today. The suffering, frustration, anger, threats, injustices, and more the situation of the disappeared families gave me more strength to work for a cause, and gradually I am engaged with this field of victims' rights. I adopted different strategies to advance our rights struggle through the grassroots, working through media, building alliances, and finally formed a national network including victims from both the state and Maoist side. Today I am very happy to be here to share my feelings and experiences from Nepal. So I want to speak to you about Nepal's stillborn transition, the long wait for victims for truth and justice, and I will focus on the role of international community, especially the UK's role in Nepal's peace process. 5 years after the peace process, Nepal still remains a deeply wounded society. To the victims, families, the war is not over, and the thousands of families are not at peace and living in a pain. Nepal army and the Maoists have adopted an equally uncooperative and hostile attitude to prevent the investigation in cases of disappeared and prosecution of their alleged members. The examples are the promotion of the senior army officers in the senior position, and also recently this cabinet appointed on alleged Maoist senior leaders in the government. So there is a lack of political will to ensure accountability in Nepal. The previous governments have withdrawn 349 cases during the 2009 and more than 300 criminal cases during the 2010. Thus, the weaker role of law institutions, poor security mechanism we have, and the growing crimes rate in transition, we do not have suitable transitional justice environment at present. However, there remain challenges to the transition, and one of the greatest is that of justice for crimes committed during the conflict. Both parties to the conflict have been responsible for those violations committed, and it seems likely that responsibility for these offenses lies at the very highest levels of the political and military structures of both the state and the Maoists. Since the transition is being led by the very same people who are likely to be targeted by judicial process, that will remain the greatest challenge of the Nepal's transition. And there is a big gap between international community, NGOs and victims community in terms of understanding the process and the role of the different actors. So as every step of our transitional justice measures started from the very top, and that excluded the victims community from the process. The role of so in this context of our transition and the ongoing peace process, the role of international communities and the UK government would have great value as a key partners of Nepal peace process. And here I would like to recommend some points for the government of UK officials, that they can create pressure to the government of Nepal to implement the past agreements, to address the past abuses, and also the recommendation made by Supreme Court the National Human Rights Commission and recent UPR session in Geneva, and also to ratify International Convention of Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearances to ensure disappearances as crimes against humanity. This is very important before to set up these transitional justice mechanism in favor of the victims community, and also create pressure to create transitional justice environment by immediately establishing the Truth and Reconciliation Commissions and the Commissions on Disappearances. And donors and the UK government can play a positive role through constructive dialogue in between all stakeholders, including victims community, and also to fulfill the gap through open dialogue system. And the UK government, through their donors and partners in Nepal, also to ensure protection mechanism for human rights defenders and also the victims and witness of the conflict. So in this way, the UK government can do to help improve the situation in Nepal, and through their strong presence and recommending governments on these transitional justice procedures and the peace process to make a success in Nepal. So thank you very much for your kind attention and interest on Nepal issues. So now I am based in Berlin, and I am doing my master in human rights and democratization and focusing my writing on the victimhoods in Nepal and politicization and their participatory action in the transition. And so actually I wanted to be in UK in person to share my experiences with you, but because of the visa problems and it's a lengthy process, I could not come in person. I personally was very much excited to be in UK in person to share my experiences with different colleagues from different universities, different organizations, and most importantly to meet with the Human Rights Parliamentary Group and Foreign Office, Amnesty International, and the other institutions, those who are engaged in the Nepal's political and transitional issues. So I wanted to come, but because of the very slow process of the visa, I could not get it in time, and I could not come in person. So I'm sharing my little points and through this videography.